No drug charges, no gun charges, and Diddy gets to pick the prison he goes to. The real reason why Diddy was sentenced to just 4 years and why he's getting everything he wants is shocking. The president is now thinking about giving him a pardon, and this story just keeps getting wilder.
So that's always a great day for the family. Overall, though, it's not surprising. We do all know one thing, like I said before, Puffy has strong ties with the government, with the feds, and anybody else would have been cooked, done. I mean, that's the first time in history that a person going to get sentenced and they can actually put on a campaign like they're running for the president of the United States, where they can show videos and pretty much everything. Only thing I was waiting on was the fact that I was waiting on him to bring out the DJ and start playing music and let him do what he do best, dance and shake that ass and end up with no time. And the other side of it is that, well, the sad side of it is that I couldn't believe that not one of his baby mothers came in to support him or testify. And I was surprised by that because that shows a lot about the character.
On the day of his arrest, Diddy was staying at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York. According to court documents, the evidence collected from his room included drugs, fake prescriptions, guns with serial numbers shaved off, and even the now famous baby oil. Despite all this, no drug or gun charges were ever included. Prosecutors could have destroyed Diddy if they wanted. There was video footage of his actions, but it was never played in court. Why was Diddy allowed to leave?
They call relevant conduct that you do in that stuff. And Diddy did a lot of shit. He beat people. He drugged people. The judge even said this. You understand? The judge spoke about coercion. And no matter what what you call them people, the jurors, said and thought and everything like that, the judge spoke about his coercion, his relevant conduct. The judge spoke about, mitigating circumstances, you know what I'm saying? A lot of shit the judge spoke about. Look at here. He got caught with drugs. Never got charged with the drugs. And the judge knew that. That's why the judge said relevant conduct. You understand? He got caught with guns. Guns in the house with the serial number. The judge knew that. You understand? Relevant conduct. You understand? That he didn't get charged with. The beating of Jane, hitting in the head, the assault, and all that stuff of Cassie. All those things, they probably couldn't. I don't guess they could have charged him with them, but it came up in the trial. All that's relevant conduct. You understand? And people don't understand all the things that he was doing. Then the judge made a point. When you go and talk to the managers and you talk to people about hiding evidence. You understand? Remember the fact in the trial when it came up that he gave a guy $100,000 and some $100,000 or $100,000 to keep the tape that from cashing them? That's relevant conduct. Your judge was speaking about all that.
Throughout Diddy's sentence, the judge made it clear that Diddy was going to get a significant sentence. Evidence was all there, and there were even reports that Diddy was trying to contact and threaten the victims while he was at the MDC. Even on the lower end of the federal guidelines, Diddy was still supposed to get like double the time that he actually did. There's a pattern here. First, Diddy beats the most serious allegations. Videotapes of his freak-offs are never shown to the jurors. And finally, his sentence is way below the federal guidelines. Everything from the start of the trial has gone exactly as Diddy wanted.
You got a lot of them in jail doing way more time than him. You know what I'm saying? So he'll be all right, man. I think that, he got off like a fat rat in the cheese factory, bro. You know what I'm saying? He got off based on how the judge started the whole sentence. He was talking about coercion. He was talking about relevant conduct. He even said that, with Diddy conduct and what he was doing, he should get a sizable sentence or something like that. You know, like his sentences should be a large sentence. And I think that, 50 months, I don't see that as being large. You know what I'm saying? It's not even a third. I think the third of the guidelines were the probation report said. I think the probation report started at 72 months.
Now the next step is Diddy being pardoned or his trial getting dismissed. Believe it or not, but even this could happen now. 3 days after Diddy's sentencing, President Donald Trump confirmed that Diddy's team had reached out to him for a pardon.
Just 3 days after Diddy was sentenced to over 4 years in prison on prostitution charges, President Donald Trump seems to confirm he's heard from the mogul's legal team. The comments coming Monday from the Oval Office as reporters asked about a pardon for Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving 20 years for child sex trafficking.
I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it, so but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Trump and Diddy's ties go all the way back to the late 90s. Diddy was reportedly a guest at the president's 2005 wedding, and they ran in the same social circles.
One mogul after another. It's mogul time.
It's your boy Diddy.
ET's cameras caught them together at this New York charity event in 2008.
When a senior White House official declined to comment on, quote, speculation and told us any decision on pardons would come from the president himself. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said he has not talked to the Trump administration about it.
You mean to tell me that you really have nothing to do with a possible pardon right now?
Nothing. I have nothing to do with a possible pardon.
What is Sean Combs saying about the possibility of the pardon?
I think he knows I'm not political. We've never discussed it other than I tell him what's in the news about it. But you know.
And what's his reaction? Does he laugh? Does he say, let's look into it? What does he say?
Go tell him that I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon. That's what he said.
How are you preparing him?
So I tell him what the guidelines are, and the guidelines are about 2 or 3 years. And I tell him, the judge could go above the guidelines.
Do you have any regrets in how you tried this case?
It's a good question. Not really. Not really.
You called the relationship between Combs and Ventura a great modern love story. Ventura says she was raped, physically abused, and became addicted to drugs because of Combs.
I think that's what makes it. The we vehemently deny, and I know I respect that she said that. I don't think the jury concluded that happened. In terms of the drugs and the other stuff, I think that's what makes it a modern love story. I think she very much loved him, and I know he very much loved her.
Cassie Ventura's attorney told us that Agnifilo's description of the relationship is a, quote, complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic violence. Now, we covered a lot more in this interview. Agnifilo said that he talks to his client just about every single day. He told us that Combs is focused on his family and wants to one day get back into performing at Madison Square Garden. This interview was about an hour long. He also told us that Combs did want to testify. Obviously, he did not.
Diddy knew he was leaving. And if you still don't believe that, just hear it from Diddy's lawyers themselves. Prosecutors revealed that Diddy had booked hotel rooms for himself in Miami a week after his sentencing. Diddy was so confident that he was going to get out that he had already started planning his vacation.
My heart goes out and it says, "Fuck him and feed him beans." I can care less about his sadness. I can care less about him being in pain. I can care less about what he has to be faced with in court or in jail now. I don't have no remorseful feelings for him, bro. You understand? This is somebody that at one time I would have given my own life for. And to know this nigga was trying to get people to take my life because I was trying to teach him to be right by people and tell him to be right by people. I have no remorse for this dude, bruh. To see him like that, I know there is a God. And you can feel all the way you want to feel about me. You can say whatever you want to say about me. But karma is a mother. And if it ever gets back to you when you have done somebody wrong, not just me, I'm not saying me, I'm saying when you have done people wrong, you have done goals of people wrong, to see him on his knees begging like that, I would say something, but the LGBT community would be after me.
Just look at how his family reacted after Diddy's verdict. Keep in mind, the judge announced that Diddy was facing 20 years in prison. How is his family so sure Diddy is going to get away?
The defense, meanwhile, argued the women were willing participants in fulfilling Combs' sexual desires, and that all the encounters we heard about in this trial were consensual. And there you see, after the verdict, Diddy's family celebrating on the streets in New York City, doing push-ups on the sidewalk while others danced. They said a few words exclusively to ABC News, and the attorney for Cassie Ventura also spoke out about this verdict.
Love everybody watching. So happy. Pop's coming home. God bless. God bless the whole.
Now coming back to the reason behind all this, and it's clear to everyone that Diddy had a deal with the prosecutors. Federal prosecutors don't let anyone go, and if Diddy is getting special treatment, it's because he cooperated with the feds. Michael Fernazzi, a former capo in the Colombo crime family who spent years behind bars, says that he's sure that there were witnesses in this trial that were given immunity.
But they didn't beat up and girls all the time. Do you see a big difference here with the kind of behavior Diddy's accused of doing compared to the behavior of mobsters?
Oh, absolutely. Let me say this. I always take the position, someone's innocent until proven guilty. That's just my position all the time. However, we have seen certain things. I think everybody has seen the hotel video where he was obviously beating her up, and the testimony has been absolutely despicable. And nobody in my former life would ever approve of something like that. And I think Anthony will vouch for that. We didn't beat up women. We didn't do things like that. We were taught to respect women in a big way, especially our families. So, in our life, if you violated another made man's wife, daughter, sister, mother, you're in a lot of trouble. So we didn't stand for that in any way, shape, or form. And like I said, the acts that are being described here are disgusting, despicable. If somebody like that was in our former life, he wouldn't last, quite honestly. And again, I would love to hear, I believe that the defense is going to attack the RICO statute here. You said, possibly there are witnesses that have been given immunity. Not possibly, 100%. I mean, that's how government builds cases. They go after people, they get them to cooperate, and they give them immunity. So like Anthony said, there's probably several unindicted co-conspirators here that all decided, hey, we're not going to take the fall. We're going to cooperate. We're going to testify, and that's why they weren't indicted. So I would believe it when Anthony said that, they're going to use the theory that you said, that the whole, Bad Boy Records was a criminal enterprise. He was at the top of it. He used these other people to implement his criminal schemes, and that's how they charged him with RICO. But these acts are just, the real question is, how did this go on for 20 years? 20 years this was going on. A guy as high profile as that, and I've said this before, and nobody gets charged for it. It's allowed to continue for 20 years. There's no question that people knew that this was going on. There were high profile people involved. How does something like this go on for 20 years?
As if it still weren't crystal clear. Just look at how the judge responded to Diddy's request to be transferred to Fort Dix prison. The official statement is that the judge denied his request, but at the same time, the judge is sending him to that same prison, just without naming it explicitly. No one wants to make it obvious, but it doesn't take a genius to see what's going on.
He will not be going to Fort Dix.
Oh my God. Why?
Well, it's just the judge is basically saying, I will allow you guys to have a conversation about, geographically where he should be, but prison-wise, like, I'm not going to let you guys choose. Prison-wise, I'm not going to let you guys choose the prison. But the judge does agree that Diddy should be close to home. So he put in a response to Diddy's request, and he says that Diddy should do those 4 years and 2 months at a federal prison as close to New York as possible. And he says that, you know, even though they don't say a specific prison, that Diddy should be somewhere that has a very strong substance abuse program, including the Bureau of Prisons Residential Drug Abuse Program. It's called RDAP, for which he qualifies.
How do you pick your prison anyway? Is there like a brochure? Like I'm serious.
Going to Fort Dix is also a part of Diddy's plan. Fort Dix offers inmates the option of joining the RDAP program. The RDIP is an intensive 500-hour, 9-month substance abuse treatment program for inmates. Completing it could entitle Combs to as much as a full year's early release from behind bars. Just a day after the judge's response, it was announced that Diddy had gotten a judge's approval to participate in the federal prison system's in-house drug abuse rehab program while serving his sentence for prostitution crimes.
Back now with breaking news, and it involves Sean Diddy Combs. His attorney is now requesting that the former or current rap mogul be placed at Fort Dix in New Jersey as a place to serve his prison sentence because of its drug treatment program. His lawyers, in a letter to a judge, said that they want to address his drug abuse issues and maximize family visitation and rehabilitative efforts. They request that the court strongly recommend the Bureau of Prisons that Mr. Combs be placed at that Jersey facility. They're also asking Combs to be placed in the Bureau's most intensive treatment program. Fort Dix is a low-security prison with about 4,000 inmates. It is ultimately, though, up to the Bureau of Prisons to decide where Combs will ultimately serve his time.
Diddy snitched on everyone he worked with to get this sentence. His chief of staff, Christina Coram, is apparently the next person on the FBI's hit list. During her testimony, Cassie named Christina Coram and said that she was the one managing everything. Everything from scheduling to what kind of mood he was in. I talked to Coram about a lot. She knew a lot of my personal things.
Ex-chief of staff Christina Coram could be facing charges as a co-conspirator. And this is coming straight from the judge's mouth, and she is not the only one that the judge is saying are criminally responsible of the same crimes that Diddy was convicted of. I got my hands on the official transcripts from Diddy's sentencing hearing where the judge names people that he is saying are criminally responsible for doing these crimes with Diddy. At this point, they are not criminally charged, but it does mean there is a possibility that charges could be brought against these people that he names. In part of Diddy's sentencing hearing, they were going over all of the enhancements that would make Diddy ultimately serve a longer sentence. One of these enhancements that Diddy was fighting over was that he was like an organizer or a leader of these groups of people to carry out the transportation to engage in prosta. Now, Diddy's argument for this enhancement that he was a leader or an organizer over other people to get away with this criminal conduct was this was already acquitted charges that he got found not guilty for, so he didn't feel like it should be able to be used. But the judge shot back and said the enhancement applies and the objection is overruled. The judge went on to say that the court finds by a preponderance of evidence that the offense also involved Combs and at least 3 criminally other responsible participants: Christina Coram, Garen James, and Bridget Collins, and that it used services of numerous outsiders that were particular and necessary to this offense, including Fahim Muhammad and Combs' various assistants. The judge said that Christina Coram is criminally responsible with Diddy for transportation to engage in prosta. Also says that Garen James is criminally responsible, and this is the man that owns the website Cowboys for Angels, where these male workers were coming from. Another reason why you might have heard of Cowboys for Angels or Garen James is because they had the TV show on Showtime, Gigolos. Judge then goes on to name Bridget Collins, and Bridget Collins was somebody that worked for Cowboys for Angels, who was referenced throughout the trial of Diddy texting when he was upset that one of the workers couldn't perform, so he didn't pay him.
Based on Diddy's crime crimes and his history, a medium security prison makes more sense. Low security prisons are for low-risk inmates with open grounds, limited barriers, and a more relaxed atmosphere. Diddy is not low risk, especially after how he was shown a disregard for the rules at the MDC. There were even reports that Diddy was attacked at the MDC. If this was a normal trial, Diddy would never be approved for a low security prison or the drug program. He is dangerous.
Now, he's got to get ready. He'll spend a couple of weeks there until they designate him to a new facility. And he'll be a lot better off in prison than he is in the federal jail. At least there you can move around and you got some freedom on the yard and things like that. My thought is he'll collect himself, get himself together. There are ways for him to improve himself. They have the Bureau of Prisons now has a drug program. And if you're allowed to get into that drug program, you can knock as much as 18 months off your sentence. Now, I don't know if he'll qualify, if they'll allow him to go in, but he'll probably start to think about, okay, what can I do to reduce my time now? That's what everybody thinks when you get in there. Is there any way we can better ourselves? He's thinking about what facility they're going to send him to. I'm sure he spoke to his lawyers and he asked his lawyers to put in a facility that's close to his home, close to his family, a low or medium level. I don't think he'll get into a camp.
Can you though? Does your request actually count? I mean, I thought the feds just put you where it works for them. I didn't think you get a say in it.
Well, here's the thing. The judge, you could ask the judge to recommend. The Bureau of Prisons doesn't have to go along with the judge's recommendation, but it does help a little bit. They do try to sometimes satisfy the judge's request. You can put in a request, and sometimes they'll honor it, sometimes they won't. It's really up.
Yeah.
Is he safe though? And you say something about him getting stabbed?
I was going to say, Diddy's team is saying no, he's not going to be safe, because in court we found out that there was an attempt on Diddy's life, that there was a man that attempted to shank him, but they stopped it, the correctional officers. And they say Diddy didn't even want people to know that he didn't want to make it a big deal. But of course they're having that conversation about will he be safe because of who he is and how high profile this case is.
Right.
They're also having a conversation. Mark Geragos is a high profile attorney, a friend of Diddy's, but also the dad of Teeny Geragos, who led Diddy's defense about Diddy potentially being raped in court. And we can and just attacks on his life, because they say that people look at him as like a trophy or a prize, and to do something to him.
Well, what if other inmates hear all of the stuff that we've been hearing in the news all of these weeks, and they scared of Diddy?
That's not how they presented it. I don't.
That's crazy to say Diddy's a trophy. Like, he's looked at as a trophy in jail is crazy.
Everyone in the industry has warned Cassie and advised her to get as far away from Diddy as possible. Freddie P has a warning for Cassie. He urged Cassie to leave the country before it's too late. According to Freddie, people close to Diddy are already plotting retaliation, and Cassie is at the top of their list. Freddie claimed that if Diddy can't get to her directly, he'll come after the people she loves, her family, her friends, her inner circle.
And now, Cassie, just go ahead and move out the country, baby. Pack little white guy up, get on out of here. Go protect your family. Because if you think Sean and he done beat it, and you got 30 out of him, at the least, me personally, at the least, I would get your boyfriend beat up every time somebody see him. Like, I wouldn't have to be there. So I'm telling you, if I would do that, I don't know, you know Sean better than me. Cassie.
So you believe that Diddy, he'll try to harm Cassie if he get up?
I think so. I'm not trying to, man, it's hard because I don't know what Sean's getting out. I don't know what Sean is getting out of prison. I don't know if Sean is reformed. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if Sean gonna get out more arrogant now that you just beat the feds. You see his kids dancing around, they don't look grateful. They look like, yeah, we gonna keep winning. That's not the attitude I would be giving. When I beat my case, when I walked out on my case, I dropped to my fucking knees. I didn't want to be around nobody. I'm happy as shit. I'm not celebrating blowing up in the law face because I know I was just fucking crying, begging God. Nobody was in there with me. I was begging him. So how I look like to get out here and act like some macho hero, like I wasn't just being a little bitch on my knees for my father to save me when nobody else would. So I don't know what P. Diddy getting out. But me, personally, you took $30 million from me, I would advise you to I would get out and tell you to leave the country.